What's up, friends, and welcome into Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast, Week 6 running back ranks. Oh, there's a lot to talk about with the running backs. They're falling. We went from Michael Carter to this week, a Charger situation. They're changing a bunch. Guys we trust are not as trustable, and we will get a couple trusted voices in here to help us figure out this entire situation. I'm Chris Welsh. That is Pat Fitzmaurice and Andrew Erickson here to guide us through this very, very messy running back waters that it is murky, it is scary, and we can't see the bottom. So we are going to try to figure out, we need a lifeboat here. Some of the top end guys are still good, but if you're having to dig a little bit, then you are in the waiver streets this week. Speaking of, those were a battle. Last week, it was Demarcado versus Michael Carter. This week, it was Hassan Haskins versus Kamani Vidal. Fitzy, what did you do? What did you do in the waivers? Waivers were kind of boring, and then it turned into this situation, and they probably died. Unless you needed a tight end, you might have been able to do some good stuff with Mason Taylor. It's not a waiver show, but what side did you fall on the Chargers running backs? And that will probably be relevant to what we talk about here in just a little bit.
Oh, man, I was a Kamani Vidal truther last year. Didn't work out so well, and now we have no idea what the Chargers running game is going to look like. But Hassan Haskins is in the mix. Kamani Vidal is in the mix. Chargers brought in Naheem Hines, a pass-catching back. They brought in Amar Johnson, who was on the Packers for a while and looked good in the preseason. I don't know if they've activated Johnson from the practice squad yet. I do think Hassan Haskins is probably the safest bet to offer some fantasy value. It's the only Chargers running back left who was on the opening day roster. Haskins had 1,300 receiving yards and 20 touchdown runs in his final college season at Michigan, playing for Jim Harbaugh. He's kind of a plotter and doesn't really have a lot of pass-catching potential, but it's a pretty safe bet that Haskins is going to be the Chargers' goal line back, at least while Hampton is out. So I do think he's probably the safe play to have some low-level fantasy value for however long Omarion Hampton is out.
Erickson, do you concur? Is it Haskins over Vidal for you? Vidal?
Yes. Yeah, it's Haskins over Vidal for this week. Again, really easy matchup against the Miami Dolphins. And Kareem Hunt has showed us that you don't necessarily need to be good at running back to score touchdowns if you're just getting those types of opportunities. So Haskins can get it done. He could fall in the end zone a couple times, and you feel good about starting him. Although I think Vidal offers a little bit more juice. And Vidal did get some red zone touches last week. So it's not just with a bullet that's going to be Hassan Haskins going to get all the red zone attempts. But he's a former Michigan guy. He has Harbaugh's trust. I just don't think that he's very good, which is why I don't want to be over the moon about you got to start Haskins over all these other guys because he's playing the Dolphins. You still have to hit like some level of competence as a running back, because last week he had a 0% success rate on his runs. He had 5 carries for 13 yards, and they were all deemed as negative plays. So that's my only concern about just being too bullish on Haskins. But if you need a starting running back, especially an RB2 with all these injuries, I think he's a fine guy to just plug in and just, hey, what did we say with Kareem Hunt last week? Spray and pray, baby. It worked out.
Well, and I think you said this off air, but it was a much better situation last week with Demarcado and Michael Carter. I think we all had a very clear vision of where we were going, and then obviously the production. I mean, we could have been having a very different conversation if Demarcado didn't make one of the dumbest plays in quite a few years in the NFL. But we will talk.
Before the dumbest play before Adonai Mitchell made it the week before.
But my point is like it's dumber because a guy did it the week before. Like it's That's not true. Like, oh, we're 5 years away and you just did the thing. A guy did it last week and then you caught, like, it's the dumbest.
What they should do at the rookie symposium is before they do anything else, they get all the rookies to sit down and they just show every low light of these guys, Deshaun Jackson, Adonai Mitchell, Jonathan Taylor, just doing them all running into the end zone, dropping the ball before they score. And that's the first thing. It's like, any questions, guys? All right.
Yeah. Just Moving put on. Like the look of like the AI children crying or whatever. Just have that like in the background as they're dropping the ball and just AI are just crying and screaming that they did this to them. Just something, just fix it. But
yeah, I'll say in Adonai Mitchell's defense, like he didn't slow down before he got to the end zone, and it seemed like he was trying to just change hands. Maybe he was preparing for some big celebration or whatever, but he didn't just drop the ball. I mean, it was a bad play, no question about it. But like, I mean, if DeMercado he was slowing down, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're going to get the ball punched out. And then he just dropped the ball on his own anyway, right before a guy could punch out the ball. So that one was really kind of inexplicable.
I just want to see a guy 50 yards completely open and then just do the like contested catch animation on Madden and just fall over. Just fall, like don't do any, just fall over into the end zone. Just protect it. It'll be great. Shout out to Amari DiMercado.
I don't get it, man. Once you get into the end zone, you can do whatever you want. You know, you can be like the Packers and jump into the stands to celebrate with fans. You can do
jump in a bucket if you want, but do it with the ball.
Do the Isaac Tesla snow angel in the end zone. Like so many different things you can do. Just be sure to get the ball into the end zone first and then, go for it.
So many activities that you can do in the end zone, like karate if you want, but just take it, do the ball with it. FantasyPros.com/rankings. FantasyPros.com/rankings. Don't have a hissy fit or freak out. You guys are talking enough about the rankings. We're here. We're doing it. FantasyPros.com/rankings. It's going to change throughout the week. You want to follow any of the positions. What we're talking about here is going to have some variance as more people put the ranks up, but let's jump into it and see where you guys got them. RBs 1 through 12. Jonathan Taylor is number 1. Bijan Robinson at 2. Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook. That rounds out the top half of the RB1s. Coming in at 7 is Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Javonte Williams, De'Von Achane, Ashton Genty, and Breece Hall. These are all your big startable guys. There's probably not any crazy major questions, but we do have some differences between you guys. So let's get a few quick takes. De'Von Achane, ECR, RB 10. Erickson's got him at 11, so one spot lower. But Fitzy, you're the high guy. You've got him at 6. That was supposed to be for last week when it was like a easier matchup. So what say you? De'Von Achane, RB 6. What's got you excited?
Currently RB6 in half-point PPR fantasy scoring, and Achane is averaging 17 touches a game. He's one of the most dangerous dual run-catch threats in the league, and he's done all this without even breaking off a big play of 30 or more yards yet, and we know we're probably going to get some of those big plays from the former Texas A&M track star who, melts stopwatches and I think went to the Olympic time trials as a sprinter when he was at A&M. So, yeah, I mean, add in a few big plays and Achane could be like a top 3 running back.
But Erickson, is this the week against the Chargers? Is this the week where those big plays can happen in their defense? What say you?
I was so confident it was going to happen last week, and then he averaged 1.6 yards per carry against the Carolina Panthers, so that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, where I'm thinking, man, he couldn't get done against Carolina, but what do we see? Our guy, Bill, just went absolutely nuclear against the Chargers because they love to stack the box. We talked about this on last week's show where, yes, when teams over-pursue, that leads to a lot of negative plays, but it also opens up opportunities for you make one guy miss and it's off to the races. So the fact that Achane hasn't had that marquee big play yet, I'm getting now a little bit concerned that I am too low on Achane. I think the reason is just I like a lot of these top tier running backs this week. I think a lot of them are in really good spots. I know there's another guy we're going to talk about here as well that I'm also higher on than consensus, but yeah, I think I got to find a way to try to move Achane up because I think that this could be a really big week for him.
It does not look like you will make the move when you do, putting him above Javonte Williams, because as you were just mentioning, Javonte Williams is ECR 9. Fitzy, you're at 10, one spot lower. But Erickson, you're all in 5, RB5 for Javonte Williams this week. So Achane's not going to make a move up to him, but it's a bold statement on a guy that's been a bell cow, though. Like he just kind of rolls and runs into that offense, and in theory, like you liked about De'Von Achane last week, he does have Carolina this week. So hopefully he averages more than 1.3 yards per carry against this Carolina team. But talk to us about Javonte Williams.
Been a bell cow, like you said. Brian Schottenheimer is all on board of we're going to ride the Javonte Williams train. He said, actually, one of his post-game pressers that he's president of the Javonte Williams fan club. Like the head coach, the guy who's calling the plays is the running back's biggest fan. So Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders, these guys are ancillary pieces in this Dallas backfield. It's all Javonte, and he's all the way back. This is pre-injury form Javonte when he was a tackle-breaking machine coming out of North Carolina. I'm all the way in, especially in this matchup against Carolina Panthers. I mean, Dallas offense, how many offenses are playing better than the Dallas offense? And that's despite them missing CeeDee Lamb. They're missing guys on their offensive line, and it doesn't matter because Dak Prescott is playing so well. So I'm all in on Javonte Williams this week and for future weeks.
Yeah, Fitzy, one of the things we've definitely seen is like, despite or whatever the loss is, they just go back to Javonte. Javonte has been a safety net, whether it's catching some balls or just consistently running and setting up, play action and just better pass situations. Javonte has been the guy, and in theory, this matchup looks pretty dang solid. On the Fantasy Pros ranks, this is given a 4-star matchup. It's an A start and sit rating, and then the matchup is 4 out of 5 stars with easy star metric here, which is one of the higher of the top 12 RBs this week.
Yeah, Javonte has been terrific. RB3 in fantasy points per game. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. He's chipping in as a pass catcher. Javonte leads all running backs with 25 runs for first downs. I guess the only reason I'm not higher on him is the Carolina run defense that good a matchup. Like it's not the pushover that it has been the last couple of years. They lost Derrick Brown, their big defensive tackle, early last season, and then the run defense just kind of fell apart. Maybe it hadn't been that great to begin with, but now Panthers have given up the 14th fewest fantasy points to running backs, kind of a neutral matchup. Their run defense ranks 14th in DVOA. Like maybe this is not a plum matchup anymore. Used to be a matchup you would target with running backs. We might have to start getting our heads around the idea that it's just no better than a neutral matchup.
You might not be wrong about that. RB2 is coming up, but first it is special offer time. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Let's do freemium here. Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today and you use code FP1, the number 1 month. FP1 month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it for free for 1 month now. Available on iOS and Android. Promo code FP, the number 1 month. FP1 month. Do it today. RBs 13 through 24, or the RB2s as we would designate them, coming in is Derrick Henry at 13, Quinshon Judkins at 14, Rico Dowdle, Bill Croskey-Merritt, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Scatterbo at 18, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Rachaad White, Ken Walker, Dave Montgomery, and Michael Carter. Strap in, because this is the core of what we have a lot to talk about. Usually in these ranges, you guys will know we talk about like 3, max 4, but we got a lot of guys to talk about. And let's start with Derrick Henry. Even though he is such a big name, there is a lot of just negative feels on Derrick Henry right now. And there's a negative rank by one of you two. He is ECR 13. Fitz is not the negative Nancy. He's got him at 13. Erickson, 21. That is benchable, actual benchable territory, depending on the running backs that you have got out there. If you picked up a Rico Dowdle or a Bill Croskey-Merritt, you might also have another better guy. 21. Is it this bad for Derrick Henry right now, Erickson?
I mean, it's been this bad for Derrick Henry. He has one top 20 finish in half PPR this season, and it was in week 1 against Buffalo Bills. Every single week, he's been outside the top 20 running backs. So I can't get there with consensus ranking him as a top 20 running back when this team is so injured. They're projected to play in a negative game script when we know Derrick Henry, if it's 10-0, I mean, he's game scripted out. Like, he's not even on the field to catch passes or salvage his fantasy production in any way. He needs to get a goal line opportunity, which is what happened last week when he scored the touchdown. So factor in the Rams, one of the toughest defenses to run against, the 31st in terms of running back points allowed per game this season to fantasy. So it's kind of like the trifecta of why you shouldn't play Derrick Henry this week. There's just so many reasons why I want to get away from him. And yes, I know that he's the big dog and he can always do and rip off these big plays, but this year specifically has been his worst year as of late in terms of forcing missed tackles. He's forced 8 missed tackles across 64 carries. That's his lowest forced missed tackle rate over the past 8 seasons, dating back to 2018. So in better matchups, when Lamar Jackson is back, yes, you're going to be firing Derrick Henry up as an RB1. You're not going to think twice about it. But in this particular spot, I'm trying to get away from Derrick Henry because I don't see the ceiling. I see the floor could bottom out entirely into a brutal matchup. So, yes, you guys are going to have to sell me on why he should be a top 20 running back.
Fitzy, if he's the big dog, we all know the big dog eats. And will the big dog eat this week? You've got him at ECR. It's just outside. 13. It's just outside. It's essentially an RB1. It's kind of hard to not do the really maybe it's lame for people, but you're just like, dude, it's Derrick Henry. Like, you got to start him. It's hard to not do that because of who he is and the volume and stuff, but things have been bad. What say you, Fitzy?
I'm definitely nervous. Erickson did a fantastic job of laying out all the negatives. So I guess it's up to me to try to find a silver lining for the Derrick Henry investors. The silver lining is that the Ravens fed Derrick Henry 15 carries last week in a game where they ran 39 offensive plays. 38.5% of their offensive plays were handoffs to Derrick Henry, and he did score a touchdown. And that's all I got.
That's all. The Derrick Henry. That's all that we have here. There's got to either be a trust level or, if you've got options, it's going to be a lot of Derrick Henry start and sit questions. Just sorry. We know it's going to be there. You guys are on opposite ends and probably going to be most of Fantasy Pros is kind of battling between it. Revenge narrative game. Rico Dowdle was amazing last week. Cowboys are back. ECR 15. You guys both have him a little bit higher, Fitzy. Let's start with you. We'll get more breakdown hopefully on Rico Dowdle, and I'm guessing we're starting Rico Dowdle in some spots over Derrick Henry, definitely for Erickson. But what say you on Rico Dowdle for Week 6, Fitzy?
Oh man, I've got him one spot behind Derrick Henry now with the revenge game narrative that I totally forgot about. I think I might have to flip him. No, I'm just kidding. But we saw Rico have a heavy workload last week with no Chuba Hubbard, and now he gets a pretty good matchup against a Dallas defense that ranks 23rd in DVOA against the run, and the Cowboys have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to running backs. And even if the game script goes sideways, like if Dak Prescott continues to deal and gets the Cowboys up by a couple of scores over the Panthers, Rico Dowdle does have utility as a pass catcher. He's used in the passing game, and the Cowboys have given up league-high 299 receiving yards to running backs this season. So, yeah, I mean, Rico had 3 catches for 28 yards last week. He had 39 catches with the Cowboys last year. So he might be game script proof, and the matchup does look pretty good.
Erickson, please sell me on some revenge game narrative. Build the revenge game up. It's super important. Everybody is dialed in. All the broadcasts will be talking about Rico Dowdle returning to Dallas. No,
you guys know what he
aside,
said. You guys know what he said after the game, right? He said they got to buckle up when talking about playing the Cowboys after they. So I think that this is a revenge game that not just us is talking about and thinking about it, because we're the ones that are always driving this really dumb narrative most of the time that basically means nothing, and most players are like, yeah, I made a lot of money with that team. Like,
but Stephon Diggs, but I just want to point out, Stephon Diggs revenge game narrative.
Yeah. But like, I guess with certain players, some players, I think maybe it does matter just a little bit more who is on the other side of the field. And I think with Rico Dowdle, again, he spent 5 years with the Dallas Cowboys. He had a breakout year last year, and they said, go somewhere else. Like, we're not going to re-sign you. And again, they got Javonte, so it ended up working out for both parties, I think, getting a running back. But I think he wants to show, hey, you guys should have kept me and not signed Javonte. So I think he's set up for just another monster game. And I know I talked about, like, being high on Javonte. Rico's going to be right up there if we get Chuba Hubbard, like, officially out. And I think that's probably going to be what ends up happening here. Because Hubbard's injury, it was a re-injury of something that he was dealing with. And just given how well Rico played, I think that they're not going to push Hubbard, who they have invested into a lot financially. They're not going to press him to come back sooner than he's ready to go. So, Uncle Rico, baby, revenge game. Let's go.
I do feel like this is football over that mountain over there for Rico this week. I'm in. Bill Croskey-Merritt, ECR 16. Both of you guys are a little bit lower, but semantics, it's top 20. That's the thing that we've gotten to. Fitzy, you're at 18. Erickson, you're at 19. You guys are both a little bit higher. Erickson, why don't we let you kick it off here? Bill Croskey, he's back in the good graces. He is in the trust tree. Yay or nay?
Yay. He's back in the trust tree. He basically took over the RB1 role against the Chargers and just continued to do what he does. And just be the super efficient running back that we saw when he was still splitting work with Chris Rodriguez. And then the coaches finally decided, all right, we got our starting quarterback. Let's get our starting running back the ball more. And he just was fantastic. 111 rushing yards, scored 2 touchdowns. Basically a nearly flawless day except for the fumble that he had. And then Chris Rodriguez did get involved a little bit later in the game. So there's always a chance that Rodriguez vultures a touchdown because that's kind of where they like to use him in the red zone. But JCM still had a touchdown from outside the 5-yard line, and he's shown that he can score from anywhere on the field with his explosiveness. So against the Bears defense, top 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed to running backs this season. That's how you've been attacking them. I think you got to fire up JCM, and I'm not hesitating to fire up Bill over Derrick Henry this week. final last words.
Okay, that was a big final last word. Let me present and Fitzy, feel free to, just get into the Bill Crosby. But let me present a who'd you rather in this situation. Would you rather you got him at 18. Would you rather Bill Crosby at 18 or the ECR 18, which is currently Cam Scadaboo? And we got word that Tyrone Tracy looks like he's a full go. Practice, everything, like he should be back in it. Are you Bill Crosby or Cam Scadaboo for week 6?
I'm still Cam Scadaboo because one, I think he's maybe the better player. And number 2, I think he is going to have a higher snap share than Jacory Croskey-Merritt this week, even with Tyrone Tracy back. Like, I don't think Tyrone Tracy is getting anything close to like a 50-50 workload share. I think now Cam Scadaboo is the starter and Tyrone Tracy is the backup and maybe the passing down back, and that's it. And really, like, that is the only knock on Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Erickson mentioned the efficiency. He is leading all running backs in yards per carry, 6.6 yards per carry, pretty good. Rushing success rate, 72.1%, also pretty good. But the Commanders are still using a 3 running back rotation. Like, Bill had his highest snap share of the season against the Chargers, and it was only 47.5%, which is good enough to be an RB2, but it's just, you'd like to see it over 50%, and it is kind of a bummer for him that he has to share with Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols.
You hope maybe that we'll start to see that tick up and up, but he is in the good graces of everybody, regardless of it, as a top 20 back this week. So probably going to be a few questions on him. Rachaad White, RB21, obviously connected to Bucky Irving and his status. Fitzy, you got him at 20. Erickson, you've got him at 15. Fitzy, why don't you kick us off real quick? You're right around ECR. Is this just simplistic of like it's relative to Bucky's situation? If Bucky's out, Rachaad sits in this range?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ranking him as if Bucky is going to be out again. I should maybe inch a little closer to where Erickson is versus ECR. It's just that we kind of got what we expected from Rachaad White last week, aside from the 2 touchdowns. That was the nice bonus with him, but we got sort of a low efficiency rushing day, 14 for 42, 3 yards per carry. And then like nice production as a receiver, 4 catches for 30 yards. So maybe I should be a little higher just based on projected volume.
Erickson, this is clearly Bucky is out, Rachaad White, top 15 against the Niners defense, which really hasn't been as good as they have in the past against the run. They've gotten eaten up a little bit. You can catch some balls out of the backfield for them. So Bucky out, Rachaad top 15.
Played 80% of the snaps last week to Sean Tucker's 21%. Sean Tucker only played 13 snaps. So it was a tougher matchup last week, I think, as well for Rachaad White as a rusher. He's never been someone that pops in terms of yards per carry anyway, but he has the red zone equity. The Buccaneers are going to score points because Baker Mayfield's their quarterback and their top 10 offense. So he's going to have those opportunities and the passing game stuff. Like, that's where White actually thrives the most. I actually expected more from him against Seattle in the passing game. We just saw Kyren Williams torch the 49ers defense out of the backfield with career highs across the board in receiving. So I think that they're going to look at that and think, hey, we can get Rachaad White involved in the pass catching game here. So I think that he's a top 15 guy.
Michael Carter is the final one in this range. I expect lots of questions about him this week. Also tied in, Kyler Murray wasn't practicing today. Something to keep, as we're recording this, something to keep an eye on. But Michael Carter, ECR RV 24. Fitz, you got him at 23. Erickson, you're a little bit lower at 27. Erickson, let's get your lower take, lower-ish. It's just he's not a RB2 for you. He's in that flex range. Maybe he's battling some wide receivers. But what's your take on Michael Carter for this week?
Yeah, I think that last week was kind of the perfect run out for Michael Carter in terms of he got all the usage. It was a really good matchup for him against a really bad Titans defense. They were heavy favorites, and they should have won the game like going away. Had it not been for the DeMarcado just plunder, and then everything kind of just fell apart from there. But it was a perfect setup for a guy that we don't think is very good. Like, he's a Jag running back. He's bounced around from team to team. I don't think that Carter is a special talent. And that was apparent when you just, watch the game and look at what he averaged. I mean, he was below 3 yards per carry. Like, he was not efficient despite seeing, I think he had, 18 carries for 51 yards. So I don't think that this guy looks amazing, he's so great. I don't think that was the case. He was the best guy out of the trio of running backs that they had. I think DeMarcado still flashed a lot. Now, obviously, he had the issue with the fumble. Jonathan Gannon has said that he's not going to penalize DeMarcado in his role. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be so shocked if the Cardinals are trailing in this game, and DeMarcado's out there like playing on third downs and playing in the 2-minute drill because that's his role in the offense. So I do have more concerns. I felt way better about Carter last week because I thought it was a much better spot for him. Against the Colts on the road, I am much less optimistic, especially if Kyler Murray is going to be missing this game. I'm not nearly as optimistic. So I think Carter is someone that I started last week. I would very much consider benching this week, even though he got a lot of usage.
Wouldn't it be funny if the first play of the game was a run to DeMarcado? That would just be like awesome. That'd be great. Fitzy, what do you think about Michael Carter this week?
So, yeah, I know he was just, admittedly, Michael Carter is a pretty ordinary talent and low efficiency last week. But so often at running back, opportunity means more than talent. And I think that's kind of the case here. 23 touches last week for Michael Carter and a 57.4% snap share. And I know Michael Carter isn't guaranteed to get more than a 57.4% snap share, but based on what Amari DeMarcado did last week, like if this is the game show Card Sharks where you have to bet whether the next card higher or lower than the last one, I'm going to bet higher than a 57.4% snap share for Michael Carter this week after Amari DeMarcado's theatrics last week. So Colts run defense has been okay. They've allowed the 8th fewest fantasy points to running backs, but they're only 16th in DVOA against the run. Like, I don't think it's a red light matchup by any means, more of a neutral matchup. So I think Michael Carter deserves to be in RB2 range.
All right, we're going to be talking about the RB3s, 25 through 36, but we want to make sure that you guys have a chance to dominate your fantasy football league, and you can do that with Fantasy Pros Premium. You can get now available free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager on one of our partner sports books. This is the easiest way to get full access to our fantasy tools all season long. So go to fantasypros.com/premium to get started. That's fantasypros.com/premium today. RB25, Alvin Kamara, followed by Tony Pollard, Jaylen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, Chase Brown, Travion Henderson at 30. 31 through 36 is Zach Charbonnet, Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Kendre Miller, Kenny Gainwell, and RJ Harvey, also known as blah. Like, it's not good. The top end of this is okay, and then it really starts to fall off. Maybe there's even bigger questions, which can be saved for the trade show, but let's drop a couple in here. Jaylen Warren, ECR 27. Fitz, you got him at 26. Erickson, you've got him at 30. Kenny Gainwell was pretty productive and makes it as a top 35 guy here. Fitzy, what's your take on Jaylen Warren starting in week 6?
Yeah, just before the take on Jaylen Warren, Welsh, about RB2s versus RB3s this week. Like, RB3s might be blah, but if you look at the names, those are the guys you would have thought would maybe be RB2s at this time, like RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson. Wouldn't have been crazy to think that those guys would have earned RB2 value by this point. The guys who are actually in RB2 value, Michael Carter, Rico Dowdle, just like all these unpredictable guys. I know. Fantasy football is weird.
Yeah.
So Jaylen Warren, I'm guessing coming out of the bye, it's maybe like a 60-40 Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell split. We saw Gainwell have that big game in Ireland with no Jaylen Warren in week 4. Tough matchup against the Browns, but I think Warren's pass catching ability helps raise the floor a little bit. He's had 3 or more catches in 3 of the 4 games he's played this season. So decent floor play, I think, at running back.
Erickson, what do you think? What do you think about our boy Jaylen Warren here?
I think Fitz summed it up perfectly. Really bad matchup. Warren has a floor. I guess maybe I'm just a little bit more concerned about what the workload is like with Kenneth Gainwell and them coming off the bye week. Warren was also coming off an injury too, so assume that that's past him. But I am a little bit more hesitant just given this is just a brutal matchup and you need a touchdown. And we've seen Kenneth Gainwell work in the red zone just as much as Jaylen Warren when both guys have been healthy. So that's another concern I have.
I was going to ask you, what do you think about Kenny Gainwell being inside the top 36? Like, do you think what he did in that game without Warren is going to warrant Gainwell getting like a lot more usage? Like, do you think he should be in that flex territory? Or do you think it's just so gross you don't know anything right now? These are both kind of avoids.
I think that his impact is just going to hurt Jaylen Warren more than give him actual standalone value where you can, I mean, are we really excited about starting 2 running backs against the Browns on the same team when that team is the Steelers? I I am not.
Right.
So I would be pushing. If people are going to ask me about should I start Gainwell this week or X, I'm probably going to be leaning in that other direction than going with Kenneth Gainwell.
And before the injury to Warren, the gap was widening between Warren and Gainwell as far as usage. Like we were seeing it be more like 70-30 or 80-20 then. But now, I mean, Gainwell showed what he could do. So maybe it's closer to 50-50, but I tend to think it's still going to work out in Jaylen Warren's favor.
There is always a chance that Caleb Johnson gets to play. We'll see.
Caleb Johnson. Speaking of the guys. All right. Chase Brown. Chase Brown is ECR 29. Fitzy, you got him at 29. Erickson, you've got him at 26. The reason I wanted to bring this up is kind of back to the Joe Flacco discussion. It looks like he's going to start this week. There's also, big narrative thing of Joe Flacco loves to throw to running backs in here. It's not like Chase Brown wasn't getting plenty of 1-yard screen passes by Jake Browning already. 6 catches for 14 yards. I don't know if anything changes, but Erickson, let's start with you. You're a little bit higher. Chase Brown has just been one of the bigger disappointments. He still doesn't make RB2 territory for you, but is there anything with Flacco in at quarterback that moves the needle for Chase Brown, or is this just Jake Browning 2.0 and it's the same old Chase Brown we've been seeing?
No, I do think that there is some realism to buying into the targets for Chase Brown. Yes, I know that he has seen a good amount of targets as it was anyway, but to open the year with Joe Burrow, it was 3, and then, it was really only last week that he saw this massive target share spike with 8 targets last week. So if that becomes more of the norm for Chase Brown, then I think that you're looking at, okay, he has an RB3 type of floor because he's still seeing a pretty strong workload. They're not really getting guys like Samaje Perine or Taj Brooks really involved. It's still Chase Brown's backfield now, albeit in a terrible situation behind one of the worst offensive lines and a brutal matchup. So there's not a lot going in Chase Brown's favor, but volume, right? And Chase Brown, we still believe is a explosive, talented player that I know last week was rough. As every week basically is for him, but he was averaging 4 yards carry against the Denver Broncos. So there was some light at the end of the tunnel where maybe he's generating some big plays on his own, and he's going to see a lot of more opportunities in space because of the targets out of the backfield from Joe Flacco. So I'm pretty pessimistic about this Joe Flacco addition anyway, just really being the tide that lifts all boats that sometimes I'm kind of seeing is going to be a thing with Flacco. The offensive line is terrible. He can't move. And I think that just means Chase Brown is going to see a boosted target share.
Do you ever think, Fitzy, you were going to be adamantly suggesting to start Michael Carter over Chase Brown in week 6?
I did not expect that, Welsh, at all. And Erickson laid out the Chase Brown outlook pretty well. I don't know that there's much else to add. It's just volume. If you want to keep the Bengals quarterback upright, whether it's Jake Browning or Joe Flacco, you have to at least pay lip service to the running game and make a good faith effort to try to run the ball. And that's probably the easier way to attack the Green Bay defense than through the air with an immobile quarterback behind a flimsy offensive line. So, yeah, I would expect Chase Brown to get a dozen or more carries, and we've hit the bye week, so I guess there's flex value to that.
We talked at the top of the show about Haskins versus Vidal, and this group has gone on the side of Hassan Haskins. So Hassan Haskins did not end up making the top 36 ECR. There was a time he was, by the way. I think it was Tuesday. Haskins was there. More ranks have kind of adjusted in here. I do find it interesting, and maybe it's just because people don't see it, but I see RJ Harvey at 36, and I'm like, no, I'll probably go with Haskins at this point. But you two both have Haskins higher than whatever the ECR number is currently, because Fitzy, you've got him at 31. Erickson, you've got him at 32. So earlier we picked which side. Now let's talk about the reason to start, and we'll start with you, Fitz. You've got him at 31, Hassan Haskins in week 6.
Yeah, I think just as I mentioned before, I think he is the best bet to have goal line opportunities for the Chargers. That's about it. And I don't expect him to play on passing downs. I think he's a pretty good bet for double-digit carries and short yardage duty, and that's about as excited as I can get for Hassan Haskins this week.
It's not very excited for sure. Erickson, let's do this. You've got Haskins at, 32? So that's, a flexy type of running back. Going over and looking at our wide receiver ranks, Rashid Shaheed. Well, Rashid Shaheed. You had Rashid Shaheed at 36 here. Rashid Shaheed or Hassan Haskins, half PPR, flex.
Will she
Start and sit
catch
question.
another deep pass?
Pretty good
2
one.
weeks in a row. I think that he probably can. So I'll go with Shaheed there.
Over Haskins.
Yeah.
Okay, first time, long time. Thanks so much. Super chat. All right, there you go. So that's what I'm trying to gauge here is like Haskins as a almost like pseudo top 30 running back is not breaking the top 36 wide receivers right now. So Haskins is, there's like a little bit more desperation in it. It does not breed the Michael Carter situation. But Erickson, give us anything else you've got on Hassan Haskins as a starting asset this week. We know the range. I mean, it's like Hassan Haskins versus Isaiah Pacheco. There's another one for you. I don't know what the rank is for you there.
Yeah, I have him one spot of Pacheco, and my rationale is just, hey, who do I think could score a touchdown? It's a good matchup, but then I look at where I have Kareem Hunt, who is currently behind Hassan Haskins, and all Kareem Hunt does is score touchdowns. So do I need to move Hunt ahead of Haskins? I think that where I definitely draw the line where I feel confident about ranking Haskins is behind Zach Charbonnet, because I know Charbonnet has touchdown equity, and I know he's better than Hassan Haskins. So like that's kind of where I draw the line where I refuse to start any running back or for Hassan Haskins where his ranking is. So I think that you're really starting him more as like a desperation RB2, where you have to start a running back, whereas I'm not trying to flex Haskins because I think you can probably find a better wide receiver or even potentially a tight end option this week.
Mason Taylor or Hassan Haskins?
In full PPR, I would do Mason Taylor. Easy.
Okay, so that's where we're living at. Boy, do I know you guys are going to have tons of Hassan Haskins questions. And guess what? Maybe I didn't get to a couple of my Who'd You Rathers, but you guys will have your opportunity because we've got the weekly Start and Sit live stream on YouTube Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where just bring it. You guys can super chat to make sure your question gets answered. I imagine there will be no less than 400 billion Hassan Haskins questions, and we get it. And bring out the scenarios, so make sure you're subscribed. If you're listening on the podcast, youtube.com/fantasypros. Turn on the notifications so you can ask your million questions about him, and we'll get you covered. You guys want more, go to fantasypros.com/rankings. You can check out all the RB rankings way beyond top 36. How does it change? How does it compare? You can also sync up your leagues to get a bunch of information based on these rankings and how it sets up for you. Go to fantasypros.com/rankings today and get yourself set up for all week long if we are not with you. That's going to do it for the Week 6 RB Ranks. I'm Chris Welsh. That's Andrew Erickson and Pat Fitzmaurice. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you next time right here on Fantasy Pros.